Caitlin Clark finally breaks her silence on the Adidas contract offer, and Nike might just be scrambling after this announcement.
She deserves it! She deserves it!
Fans and experts had been asking for ages why Nike wasn't promoting Clark or giving her a signature shoe, but instead of answering, Elliott Hill, the CEO of Nike, decided to blame their marketing firm. According to him, it was all about some drop in revenue, and that's why they were supposedly focusing elsewhere.
There's some stuff going on behind the scenes at Nike. Their stock has dropped like 20% this year. I know that they have fired people, hired new people. Like there's a lot of moving parts. That to me, I know that they're blaming some of it on that, but that seems to be such a small, minor detail when you have the gold mine that is Caitlin Clark. It seems to me that it is more on the political side as to why Caitlin Clark is not getting the praise, the commercials, the ads, the merch, like all of the things.
But let's be real, it's just a bunch of excuses at this point. Nike missed the boat, and Adidas swooped in to grab the deal that could have been a game changer. Now, all Nike can do is regret what's already done.
And I am upset for her, honestly. I think $28 million for 8 years, eight years is such a long time. She'll be midway, maybe, if not over halfway through her WNBA career by the time that this contract is up.
And if you're thinking that Caitlin Clark just jumped ship to Adidas for a bigger paycheck, let's clear that up real quick. It's not always about the money. Sure, there are plenty of athletes who chase the zeros and hop on the next brand that throws cash at them. But Clark is different. Nike pushed her to this point, and honestly, can you even blame her? Nike's handling of Caitlin Clark's career is nothing short of a disaster.
Why isn't she being promoted, and how did Nike get her at such a reasonable, wasn't it at 22 or 32?
$28 million.
$28
over
million
8 years.
Over 8 years. I'm like, that doesn't add up to me.
Here we've got this massive star, the rookie who practically owned the WNBA last season. And what does Nike do? Absolutely nothing. She signed this monster deal with Nike. 8 years, $28 million. Sounds like a dream, right? But instead of seeing her face plastered everywhere, Nike gave her the silent treatment. You'd think they'd be throwing her on every billboard, rolling out commercials, hyping up her every move. But nope. It was like Nike forgot she existed. No ads, no signature shoe, not even a lousy tweet to shout her out after she set records. Like what?
Nike hasn't produced one ad or commercial featuring Clark since she turned pro, and despite a signature shoe being part of Nike's agreement with Clark, it may not be released until 2026, according to sports business reporter Ethan Strauss.
While Caitlin Clark was out there breaking records and drawing in more viewers than the WNBA had seen in decades, Nike's marketing department was probably napping. Fans were left scratching their heads asking, is Nike seriously this clueless? I mean, the WNBA hadn't seen numbers like that in over 20 years, and Nike just ignored it. How do you sign one of the most hyped rookies in basketball and then do nothing with her? It's almost impressive how badly they fumbled this one.
Nike, and you've done it for other players. Wemby's shoe is out. LeBron, when he came into the league and there was so much hype around him, he also was somebody who signed a $100+ million, I mean, his contract was like so insane, but hundreds of millions of dollar contract with Nike coming out of high school. LeBron had a shoe going into his first season.
And let's talk about the signature shoe drama. Part of Clark's $28 million deal was a promise for a signature shoe. That's huge, right? Except here's the catch. Nike's got that shoe slated to drop in 2026. Yeah, you heard that right. By the time Caitlin Clark finally gets her shoe, she'll have already played several seasons in the WNBA, and who knows what records she'll have shattered by then. It's like Nike's running a marathon in slow motion, while the rest of the sports world is sprinting past them.
Since she has signed this contract, you guys, and her WNBA season has come and gone. And with that, Nike has not done one thing to promote her. We have not seen any commercials. We have not seen any ads. We have not seen any Caitlin Clark merchandise. And we for sure as hell have not seen any Caitlin Clark signature shoes.
Fans are livid with Nike. And honestly, who can argue with them? You've got this star player who's pulling in millions of viewers, breaking WNBA records, and making headlines every other day. But instead of capitalizing on that momentum, Nike's dragging their feet like it's no big deal. And it's not just the delayed shoe, it's the whole approach. Nike's letting this gold mine of an opportunity just sit there, gathering dust, while the entire sports world is waiting to throw money at Caitlin Clark merch. By the time that signature shoe finally comes out in 2026, Caitlin Clark could be even bigger than she is now, and Nike's going to be scrambling to catch up. It's like they don't realize the lightning they've got in a bottle. The longer they wait, the more people are starting to ask if Nike's even paying attention. Do they know what they've got with Caitlin Clark? Or are they just playing it safe while Adidas is out there making moves? It's baffling, really.
Look at the numbers with Caitlin Clark there. Her first playoff game, drawing 1.84 million viewers. Ridiculous numbers. The highest rated playoff game since game 2 of the 2000.
And that's why Adidas came in, ready to snatch the opportunity that Nike was completely sleeping on. While Nike was ghosting Caitlin, Adidas saw the writing on the wall and moved in fast. Word on the street was that Adidas was offering Caitlin a $30 million deal. Yep, you read that right. $30 million, a clear upgrade from Nike's lackluster offer. Adidas wasn't just showing interest, they were making moves, proving just how much they valued her.
You know what the contract is? I want to say it's $3 million a year for 8 to 10 years. It's almost $30 million, something like that.
Adidas didn't see Caitlin Clark as just another basketball player. They saw her as a potential brand icon. This wasn't just about pushing out a signature shoe. Adidas recognized the full picture of what Caitlin could bring. Her influence extended way beyond the basketball court. She had the power to elevate a brand, change the narrative around women's sports.
This will be a whole new offering and probably tap into a market that Nike and other sports apparel companies really haven't before. Obviously, little girls are going to wear them. I think plenty of dudes are going to wear them. You're just going to see those things in high demand.
And Adidas understood that. They weren't just tossing cash her way. They were strategically positioning themselves to dominate the future of women's sports. Adidas didn't stop there either. They were playing the long game, and they had some serious heavyweights backing them up. Sports legends like Billie Jean King were out here singing Caitlin's praises. She was putting her legacy behind Caitlin, and let's be honest, when you've got someone like Billie Jean King in your corner, that's a whole different level of endorsement. This wasn't just about grabbing a WNBA star. This was about Adidas making a statement. They were ready to own the future of women's sports, and Caitlin Clark was the key.
These leftists are idiots. Idiots. They're not about business. They're not about growing the WNBA. They're about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is insanity, what they're doing to Caitlin Clark. It's bad business. It's short-sighted.
And after realizing things were getting serious, Nike came back with an apology, claiming it was the marketing team's fault for dropping the ball on Caitlin Clark's signature shoe. But we're all wondering, how come they didn't sleep on A'ja Wilson's shoe? They managed to announce and release hers just fine. So, at this point, there's no way they can cover up their mess with any excuse. After months of doing absolutely nothing, while Clark dominated headlines and set the WNBA on fire, Nike suddenly had an epiphany. But don't be fooled. It wasn't some heartwarming wake-up call where they finally decided to do right by one of the biggest names in sports. Nope. It all started happening right when Adidas made serious moves to snatch Clark away with a massive $30 million deal. Coincidence? Yeah, sure. Nike's version of an apology? A gigantic banner of Caitlin Clark, plastered across the Indiana Fever Arena in a move that screamed desperation more than anything else.
Stated Adidas global ambassador congratulating Caitlin Clark while the brands that signed her didn't even acknowledge her achievement. Shame on you, Nike. Also, I'm still shocked that after it was leaked that she won the WNBA Rookie of the Year, they didn't address the matter or recognize her as the winner.
Let's be real here. A player like Caitlin Clark, who led all rookies in points, assists, steals, and minutes played, deserves more than a hastily thrown-up banner when things start to go south. Nike had every opportunity to push Clark as the face of their brand, but instead they just sat back and watched as Adidas made moves. And now they're scrambling to keep her from jumping ship. It's not just embarrassing, it's business malpractice.
Nike, an organization that got her on a bargain basement deal and is telling her, well, we're going to wait to promote you until we're done promoting A'ja Wilson. And she's in the middle of all of these racial discussions that she has nothing to do with, wants nothing to do with, and then they're demonizing her fans.
The truth is, Nike's banner didn't fix the problem. It just highlighted how long they'd been neglecting Clark. Everyone knew that Adidas was on the verge of sealing a massive deal with her, and Nike was just scrambling to stay relevant. Fans weren't buying the sudden support after months of being radio silent. The banner felt like a last-ditch effort to save face, but it wasn't enough. The question on everyone's mind was, why didn't Nike step up sooner? Why did it take the threat of losing Clark for them to suddenly care?
The WNBA, and she is getting paid a measly $28 million for 8 years.
And then you've got Adidas, who saw this whole situation as a golden opportunity. While Nike was playing catch-up, Adidas recognized Caitlin Clark's value from the start. Clark wasn't just making waves in the WNBA, she was changing the game entirely. Her playoff games pulled in a whopping 1.84 million viewers, a stat that hadn't been seen in over 20 years. That level of impact doesn't happen by accident. Adidas knew that Clark wasn't just another player, she was a phenomenon. And they weren't going to let Nike's oversight get in their way.
She was the unanimous MVP. She got a team into the playoffs when they hadn't been to the playoffs, I think, since 2016 or 2017. Led them in scoring. She led the rookies in scoring. She led them in assists. She averaged like 5, 6 rebounds a game. She set record for scoring, rebound, assists. 3-pointers.
Adidas wasn't just offering Clark a shoe deal. They were making a strategic play for the future of women's sports. They saw that Caitlin Clark wasn't just about basketball. She had the ability to draw attention, to captivate an audience, and to change the conversation around women's athletics. And Adidas was ready to bet big on that. This wasn't about throwing money at a player. This was about making a statement. Adidas wanted Caitlin Clark at the center of their long-term strategy to dominate the landscape of women's basketball.
See that again. She came off of playing in a national championship game that had over 20 million people tuned into that game, then going straight into the draft, and then going straight into the WNBA and breaking an insane amount of records.
So while Nike was scrambling to throw up banners and do some last-minute damage control, Adidas was already playing the long game. They saw what Nike was blind to. Caitlin Clark was the future of women's basketball, and they weren't about to let her slip through their fingers. Adidas wasn't just making a business deal. They were positioning themselves to lead the charge in women's sports for years to come. Nike, meanwhile, was left wondering how they managed to fumble such a golden opportunity. And Clark ultimately accepted the Adidas deal, which was the right move because no one should ever compromise on their worth. But what do you think? Did she make the right choice?